What is up, everybody? Liam Murphy here. Today, we're going to be, of course, giving some instant reactions to that absolutely barn burner of a game between the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Then we're going to spend quite a bit of time looking at my high stakes best ball teams across DraftKings and Underdog. We're going to see what's going right, what's going wrong for some of those teams, some players I have, some teams. And then we're going to end the day by making some pick'em slips in the Underdog lobby for this week's games. We, after getting a win on the pick'ems 2 weeks ago, our best slip, I think, last week got 4 out of 5. Unfortunately, Trey McBride could not get 10 more yards in garbage time to make another winning weekend. But we'll be back in the lab to make a winner today. Real quick, just want to touch on my take of what the Jets are doing. I think the Jets made the decision to go with Aaron Rodgers, and that was all good. And, Aaron Rodgers brought a bunch of his cronies with him, Nathaniel Hackett, not a good OC, a bunch of players who are probably not up to snuff, Alan Lazard, what have you, Randall Cobb. And that's not even the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue is Aaron Rodgers went down week 1, and the Jets could not risk Aaron Rodgers retiring on them. So they need to bend the knee and do whatever the guy fucking wants. And from what I watched in Hard Knocks, Aaron Rodgers really likes Zach Wilson, so that is why Zach Wilson got a shot. And I think I think Zach Wilson should have got a shot to start the year. Right? This is a past high draft pick. It made a lot of sense to give the guy 2-3 games. After that, there's really no excuse that they did not make a move to try to get someone. You could argue that maybe the Jets are better off in the long run, losing as many games as they can this year, getting a high draft pick. It's a lost year anyways, but, you lose your quarterback week 1. It's pretty rough. You don't make any moves. And I think the reason that they played Boyle over Trevor Siemian this week is pretty unquestionably because Zach Wilson was always the third best quarterback on the roster when Rodgers was healthy. Siemian was always the second best, and Boyle was always the fourth best. So what do? When you've been playing the third best quarterback all year? Well, you can't play the second best guy. He'll make you look like a fool and you'll get fired, right? If you throw Siemian out there and he plays good, the questions come quick. What the hell were you doing? But if you play Boyle and he looks worse than Zach Wilson, well, now you can say, look, see, we tried. This is why we were going with Zach. And I really think the Jets will not give Siemian a shot. I think they're going to throw Zach back out there and be like, look, we tried. It didn't work. But yeah, you got to feel for Jets fans. I mean, absolutely backbreaking of a game. They were fully in the game at the half. Then they throw a pick 6. I'm seeing low effort by players out there. Who could blame them? But yeah, just tough. Yeah, and most are getting touchdowns out of nowhere. Not great. So this summer, I was contracted by a lot of people call him Yoda. His name is Yoda. It's pronounced Yoda. And Yoda hired me to advise him for the $50,000 DraftKings Best Ball Championship. These were the stats as of before the Thanksgiving games. So this is not including any of the Thanksgiving numbers in it. I'm going to show you the team in a little bit here before we jump into my DraftKings teams, and then we'll go into Underdog, and then we'll make our pick'ems. Want to give love to some of the high stakes community. I usually don't show this until we're around the playoffs, but so yeah, I mean, you can see it's a pretty neck and neck race here. You got a lot of people within 60 whatever points of each other. Some of these teams are probably dead. A lot of these people are the who's who of the DFS world. Big T over at Run Pure. Gary, I think he's probably Young Pure. JBC, I think, is Run Pure. Grinders Cal started Roto Grinders. Whistles Goes Woo. big famous DFS guy. Club Gam. I think this guy won another Millie Maker on Thanksgiving. I think he's won like 5-3 this year. Peter Gibbons, a strong DFS player, did a lot of the 555 best balls with me. Brandon Adams won a Millie Maker this year. A good guy in the DFS world. Two Gun, previous Millie Maker champion. So a lot of the who's who here. Some of these people I assume qualified. Some of them probably just bought right in. It was something to do before the baseball championship. This is, as you can see, second place gets 200K. First place gets 400K. I have a percentage of this team, and this is just going to be total points through week 17. So this is going to be going on for a little bit while. The team that we built is a Brock Purdy team. It's got Jalen Warren and James Cook. It's got Brandon Ayuk. It's got Jordan Addison. It's got, unfortunately, Jackson Smith-Njigba in the 6th round before he hurt his wrist. It's got Michael Mayer. It's got Tony Pollard, who is finally kind of looking like himself and producing like himself and has a really strong schedule down the stretch. Then it's got Jordan Love. It's got Zach Charbonnet. It's got Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave, who's probably out for the year. I mean, the man is in the hospital. It's got Tyler Conklin, A.J. Brown, Ramondre Stevenson, Mike Williams, which, of course, got injured early, Daniel Jones, who's out for the year, Rashid Shaheed, Josh Downs, and Deontay Hardy. So the team's a mixed bag. Obviously, the way we built the team, A.J. Brown, then Pollard, and then all the guys we wanted were kind of gone by the Ramondre pick. So we want Ramondre, unfortunately. But, at least a lot of our guys are through the bye. Deontay Hardy has on his bye, but it's probably irrelevant. Josh Downs was a late round hit. Shaheed, a late round hit. We kind of need these because we're a little bit weak at wideout. We went with 4 tight end, which in hindsight I probably wouldn't do, but now we only have 3 healthy tight ends. We're obviously down to 2 healthy quarterbacks in Love and Purdy. Thankfully, both of them are playing good ball. Purdy usually, but Love is going to be the scorer this week. So, and then some of our guys are just in improving situations. Charbonnet's situation looks better. James Cook, Jalen Warren. It's a little thin at wideout with, Ayuk and A.J. Brown as the alphas and then a hodgepodge of guys. But I think the team has a really strong shot of winning it all, which obviously is the goal. But it's probably got strong second place equity too. I could find the draft board, but you could just look it up. Two Gun on Twitter, if you follow him. If you look up on Twitter and you look up like Two Gun $50,000 DraftKings championship, if you really want to see the draft board, you can probably do that. And so, I mean, a lot of this, why I personally would probably not have bought into the 50K is, you draft a team and everyone knows injuries are part of best ball. That's why, I would not want to put all my eggs in one team. But I did think a lot of these guys don't play best ball, so it's probably a pretty good opportunity. And we've run fortunate enough on injuries in such a wacky year. We have, we lost Daniel Jones, we lost Mike Williams. Everyone's losing injuries, but this is the biggest high stakes best ball thing I've ever done, or really any individual gambling entity. So excited for it. It's a good team. It's been fun to meet Yoda. He's a cool dude. Had a good time with him out in San Diego. We talk a little bit each week about the NFL. And so, good luck to us there. Moving on, rather than going in the app, it's just kind of hard with interface. I have been pulling my teams in an Excel sheet. And so I'm just going to show you these. Currently, I have 11 teams advancing. I did not max the 555, which was 150. I did 76, I believe. 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, I think I had 3 or 4 teams advancing. Now, I was like, what the hell's happening here? Because I thought I drafted decently this year. I don't think I hit everything. I think a lot of that was just like my guys having hit their buys and other teams not. And then also probably some of it was, running bad. I have a lot of Tony Pollard this year, who's definitely ran bad. I have a lot of Kyron Williams, who then got hurt, and now is going to be back, who's like a big piece for me. But yeah, I mean, it was looking dire, and then each week I seem to be gaining some teams. I will assume, just to like heavier Bills exposure, I might be a little over advancing right now because of Bills pieces. But honestly, looking at these teams, I don't have a ton. I have a lot of Kincaid. Let's go. But yeah, so let's just look at some of these teams. Red means like out for the year or just like confirmed a 0. Yellow means very likely to be a 0, but not for sure. And some of these guys might even be red. The color schemes I started pulling a while ago, but currently I have 11 advancing, and teams within 60, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So around 18 teams. Oh, no. I have 11 teams advancing and 8 within 60. Now, I should say 60 is just a number I'm pulling out of my ass, right? We got week 12, week 13, week 14. Realistically, you can close a gap very, very large, right? And let's just think through it, especially on DraftKings, a PPR site. A team can score 100. Let's say a team ahead of you got some injuries, whatever. Let's say they score 100. And let's say you have a good week. You score 160. You right there have closed 60 points right there. And if you're scoring 160 and they're scoring 100 right now, that's probably a little bit indicative of how your players are going to be doing in future weeks and or the healthier roster. So yeah, you like some teams, I've been pulling the teams within like 80 points the past couple of weeks. Some of these teams were like not even within 80 last week, and now they're within like 20 points of advancing. So a lot of time still for things to change. Things could go bad for me. I could go, maybe I only get 5 teams through, whatever. I did win this tournament last year. If you're new to my channel, last year it was $250K to first. This year it is a cool 1 million to first. The advance rates are 2 out of 12. And then I can't remember which round is 1 out of 6 and which round is 1 out of 5, but either or, it's 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5, and then around like 30, 33 people in the finals for a mil. It's really, really top heavy. Something like BBM, if that's what you play, which I would assume most people watching this channel, the advance rates for that is something like 2 out of 12, and then it's like 1 out of 16, 1 out of 16. So just shows you that's way, way, way bigger of a tournament, harsher advance rate. So this team, I got structured QB, RB, wideout, tight end. It's a solo Stroud team. Obviously, I drafted this early since it has Trey Lance on it. It's got Swift and Deontay Foreman. It's got Roshan and Etienne. So it's pretty much just 2 running backs, Etienne and Foreman holding it down, and then whatever we get from the Bears guys, we get. Wide receiver, it's doing better. It's got Tank Dell, AJ Brown, OBJ, Amon-Ra, Debo, Isaiah Hodgins, a near 0, Gallup, and Jacoby Myers. And then it's got Michael Mayer and Kittle. And I'm not sure if Darren Waller's out for the year. I do know usually if you go on IR twice, you're like out. So I don't really know what Waller's status is. I'm assuming he's not returning, but I give him yellow for now. This team's advancing by 140, so it's pretty much a lock. This team has no quarterback, which in any other tournament would be noteworthy, but in this tournament, the groups are small enough, and if somehow, some way, it could be like the only team in the finals with like a combo of like AJ Brown, Hawkinson, Kittle, and Dell, and those guys all go for like 30. Well, maybe it could even win with no quarterback. But it had Cousins and Richardson. It's a very loaded team. As you can see, it's advancing by 150 without quarterback points. It's got Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford, Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, David Montgomery, Ty Chandler, Tank Dell, AJ Brown, Jacoby Myers, Mingo, Hardman, Pierce, Debo, Amon-Ra, and Kittle and Hawkinson. I got a lot of Dell on DK. That was me just trying to find it. Has to do with me having lost a Stroud. It has to me doing with not wanting to draft Robert Woods. It has to me doing with like trying to draft guys I knew were going to be on NFL rosters late in drafts. This next team's advancing by 116 points. It's kind of structured weird because it's 4 QBs. And I remember this team because it's probably the only 4 QB team I built purposely with stacks like this. And I remember feeling like kind of weak at running back, but being like, well, if these guys hit, like it's good enough. Because like when I built this team, the quarterbacks are Howell, Love, Young, and Geno. So Howell and Love, the good quarterbacks here. Geno's banged up now. He's giving you some weeks. Young is rough. Rashad White and Sanders were like the anchors when we built this, right? And White held up. Sanders did not. And then it's got Achane, Kyron, who both are hits, right? One of them late, one of them mid-round. Both of them are returning. I think Achane's going to play next week. Kyron's going to play this week, and they already cut Henderson, so it looks like he's locked and loaded. Evan Hull is on IR. I think he's out for the season. Colts backup, if you don't know. Chase Brown is on IR. I'm assuming he's not returning, but maybe he does. Wide out, it's got Tyreek, Terry, McLaurin, DJ Chark, DK Metcalf. It's got Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk, and then Treylon Burks. So it's got a little bit of a Panthers Jags stack built out for week 17. Tight end went 3 rookie tight ends. I thought it was one of the dumbest and laziest narratives in the offseason that rookie tight ends can't produce just because they're rookies. And if you go and look at some of the past rookie tight ends and the situations they were in, it was some of the worst situations ever. Obviously, Musgrave probably not going to be playing, but Kincaid and Laporta, very, very, very solid hits that is allowing this team to be pretty solid, even though for weeks it only had Rashad White giving it running back points. It was a 1 running back team, and it treaded water. Now this is with this year with all the injuries. That's kind of why. Because looking at just looking through some of the pods, some teams I'm in third, and it's like the gap is like 200 points. It's like you're in third, but see you later. Other teams, it's like you're in 6th and you're 20 points from advancing. So a lot of different things going on. It really depends if Tank Dell was drafted, if Kyron Williams was drafted, did someone stack Mostert and Tyreek, things like that is why you're seeing such large gaps. This next team is advancing by 26 points, and again, this was all before Thanksgiving. It's got Prescott, Carr, and Love. Very solid there, especially Prescott and Love. Carr's about to return. It's got Stevenson, Pollard, CMC, Rashad Penny, and Zamir White. I thought this was a really, really smart, structured running back room when I was making it, because if you think about it, I took Stevenson, who went right around where Josh Jacobs went, and then I leveraged off of Josh Jacobs by taking Zamir White, right? So I'm building this team thoughtfully. Obviously, the Rashad Penny as the mid-round running back didn't hit. It still could. Maybe Penny comes back healthy. We don't know. Probably not. But still could. I hold out a little hope. They get the Cardinals week 17. But Stevenson, Pollard, CMC has been good enough, especially CMC. And, the Zamir White pick is what it is. It's hey, does Josh Jacobs go down to injury? If so, Zamir White, solid running back. If not, he's a 0 all year. And that was not guaranteed in the offseason, but is what it is. Wide out, JSN, Darius Slayton, Puka Nacua, one of like my only Puka Nacua teams. Christian Watson, Rashid Shaheed, Mechie, obviously you wish that would be Tank Dell. Gabe Davis, Michael Thomas, who is on IR, doubtful he returns. Jameson Williams, Dalton Kincaid, Hawkinson, and Musgrave. So Hawkinson and Kincaid have a week 13 bye. Musgrave is obviously not going to be playing for a while, but this team did real solid on Thanksgiving, mainly because Prescott, Pollard, CMC, and then we still got Christian Watson hit finally. Dude, I needed that Christian Watson game so bad. My 4th round was a lot of Christian Watson and Mike Williams. One of them got hurt, the other one was a bust, and now maybe he's not. Maybe he's committed to the bit of the low advance rate playoff hammer. This next team's advancing by 13 points. It's a Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, Brock Purdy team, so nuts quarterbacks. Running back is a different story. It's got Jahmyr Gibbs, good. Zach Charbonnet, okay. AJ Dillon, okay. Dameon Pierce is at least going to be playing. Damian Harris out for the year. Malik Davis did not even make the NFL. CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tank Dell. This team is so funny, man, because it's essentially a 3 wide receiver team, yet it's better than some other wide receiver teams because you can pretty much lock and load CeeDee Lamb and St. Brown for like minimum 15 points most weeks, usually around 20. And then Tank Dell as the other wide receiver. So really we're getting like 45 to 60 wide receiver points each week. Gallup, Mechie, Michael Thomas, Mike Williams, DPJ, a lot of zeros here. Some of them, the Mike Williams injury again. I drafted like I was right. Maybe I do think I built a little too many thin wide receiver rooms this year, counting on the quality. And it's just kind of tough to carry an injury when you do that. Like this team would be dead if it didn't hit Tank Dell, right? Or Stroud. And then tight ends got Kittle, Conklin, Ferguson. So strong quarterback, strong enough tight end, 3 good wide receivers, 3 okay running backs. It's a very weird team. It's got like 8 zeros. I guess it could do okay though. This next team's advancing by 38 points. CJ Stroud, Burrow out for the year, Carr, Jonathan Taylor, one of my few teams with him, Algier, Gainwell, Miles Sanders, Rashad Penny, Khalil Herbert. So not a great looking running back room. Tank Dell, Olave, Addison, Slayton, Jamar Chase, Shaheed, Josh Downs, Xavier Hutchinson. He's a Texan if you did not know. Michael Thomas is on IR. Kincaid and Hawkinson, a very common pairing for me. So strong tight ends, some wide receiver hits here. Jonathan Taylor and a bunch of scrubs, and it's got CJ Stroud. The next team advancing by 4 points is Bryce Young and Geno. Had Kirk Cousins as well. Rashad White, James Cook, Zach Charbonnet, Latavius Murray, Kyron Williams, Zamir White, Devon Achane. So strong running back room for going 0 RB. JSN, Slayton, DJ Chark, Jaden Reed, Mingo, Justin Jefferson, who's going to be returning week 13 probably, Calvin Ridley, and Trent Sherfield. So I don't know, man. Rough wideout room here. And then I had Andrews and Hawkinson, so it went double elite tight end. Obviously, Andrews is probably out for the year. Maybe returns for the real NFL playoffs, but weird team. Would not be sad to lose this one for another team. It's just kind of weak at wideout. This team is probably one of my better teams, advancing by 140. CJ Stroud, Sam Howell, Lamar Jackson. At running back, Jalen Warren, Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Gainwell, Devin Singletary, Kyron Williams, Zamir White. So really, really, really nailed a bunch of the running backs here. At least 5 of them are very strong, including Singletary there. We'll see what happens when Pierce is back. And then Gainwell, leave a light on. Zamir White needs an injury. Tank Dell, Steph Diggs, Jackson Smith, Njigba, Darius Slayton, Hollywood, Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman, who's at least looking healthier and playing, Christian Watson, Michael Gallup, and then Kincaid and Pitts. So a strong team advancing by a lot should make the playoffs. I know Minnesota has a week 13 bye. And I just planned to eat a 0 with a lot of my teams when I went Kincaid and Hawkinson. Using the logic that, hey, if these 2 guys are hits, they're going to way outscore you tacking on Hayden Hurst to your Tyler Higbee and, I don't know, choose another tight end that sucks. Your Higbee, Knox, and Hayden Hurst teams versus my Kincaid and Hawkinson, I'm killing you at tight end. And that turned out to be true. This team is very good. I hope it advances. It's a Justin Herbert and Brock Purdy team, so strong quarterbacks. Jerome Ford, Jeff Wilson, Roshan Johnson, Zach Charbonnet, Rico Dowdle, David Montgomery, Tank Bigsby, probably 0, and Kyron Williams, who's returning. CeeDee Lamb, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Darius Slayton, Quentin Johnston, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Deebo Samuel, and Mike Williams. So at least it has QJ to benefit from the Mike Williams injury. Now, QJ is not very good, but is what it is. Kincaid and Laporta, nutted late-round tight end. Juwan Johnson, he's there. It's not advancing by a lot, so it's going to be a dogfight for this team, but I hope it can make it. And it got some pieces back. It got Montgomery back. Kyron Williams is coming back. Lamb, Amon-Ra, and Deebo can mask a lot of issues at wide receiver. And Deebo's back now too. So this team weathered the storm of a bunch of injuries. Jeff Wilson's even playing. This next team advancing by 114 points. So seems pretty good position to make the playoffs. Sam Howell and Goff at QB. Garoppolo probably not going to play the rest of the year. Ramondre, Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet, and ETN. Good enough running back room. Damon Harris, I think, is out for the year. John Dotson, Garrett Wilson, Jacoby Myers, JSN, Tutu Atwell, Monroe, St. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Hardy, the only near zero, although he played more with Joe Brady than he did with Ken Dorsey. Cade Otton, Trey McBride, and Dallas Goedert. The strength of Otton and McBride in the late rounds, especially McBride now, carrying the injured Goddard. So this is a good looking team. It's stacked up. It feels good. I like this team. This next team, a hyper fragile team, advancing by 15. Just got a strong CMC game, so it's probably in good shape. It's got Tua, Bryce Young, and Geno. Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, CMC, and Ken Walker. Nico Collins, Mike Evans, Jordan Addison, Darius Slayton, DJ Chark, Rashad Bateman, Tutu Atwell, Josh Downs, Hardy, Waddle, Musgrave, Juwan, Johnson, Higbee. So, this is an example of, you go 3 late tight end, and they all suck. That happens sometimes. I don't think I'm going to go player by player on all of these, but we'll just talk about the two. Yeah, the two within, I don't know. Talk about this one. It's within 2 points, and this one, which is in 15 points. So this one's a solo love team. Lost Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. It's got Algier Pollard, James Cook, David Montgomery, Zamir White, CeeDee Lamb, JSN, Slayton, Lockett, Christian Watson, Hyatt, Josh Downs, Rashee Rice. Justin Ross is probably going to jail. Dalton Schultz and TJ Hawkinson. So fun team. And this team's a Lamar team. Had Richardson as well. Super fun pairing. Jalen Warren, Bijan, James Conner, Jeff Wilson, Deontay Foreman. Jaden Reed, Kirk, Ayuk, Godwin, Josh Downs, Darius Slayton, OBJ, Jalen Waddle, Matt Collins, Sam Laporta, Waller, and Dawson Knox, who's about to return. So, yeah, you guys can pause the screen and look at some of these other teams if you wish. I will, of course, once the teams advance, I'll take a closer look at my teams, show the people my teams that are advancing. Would be awesome if, we could sun run one of these teams to the finals and win the $1 million. Good luck to me there. So that's it for the DK portion. Let's jump into the underdog high stakes. I didn't do as much action on my underdog high stakes, but I did do some. Now, this is not going to be perfect, obviously, with 4 games having been played this year, but I can tell you the Bulldog, I did 4. The Bulldog was a $500 draft. It is $100K to first. It is a final size of 8 people if you make it, I believe. And so, yeah, drafted 4, advancing 2 currently. Let's take a look at them. Okay, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Sam Howell. So we only lost 1 quarterback. Ramondre, Etienne, Pearson, White. 2 of the running backs, strong hits. 1 of them serviceable. 1 of them is returning from injury. A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra, pretty nutted there. Gabe Davis, serviceable enough. Jalen Hyatt, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton. So I mega stacked Daniel Jones, unfortunately. All those guys suck, but, hey, they're out there, some of them. Michael Wilson is injured. Deontay Hardy in near zero. So got a lot of wideouts, not a lot of good ones. A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra, though, are on the team. Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta. Yeah, you'll see the Kincaid-Laporta pairing quite a bit on my good teams. So I don't know. Mixed bag here. It's a small tournament, so it's got a decent shot. This team was advancing before the games. It still is advancing. Aaron Rodgers out for the year. Matt Stafford been injured in and out, but is playing. Bryce Young. Again, I went hyper fragile running back here. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, and Rashad White. All the running backs are hits, though. Steph Diggs, Chris Godwin, Zay Flowers, OBJ, Rasheed Rice, Mingo, Michael Wilson, Puka Nakua, Hawkinson, and Kincaid. Again, I did not draft a lot of Puka, but hey, we got one here in the high stakes. That's pretty nice. Hawkinson and Kincaid feeling nice. There's a lot of names you should notice here too. Sam Sherman, Fancy Dog Pound, he does content as well. Dave is a big guy in the drafting community. A lot of these guys are big grinders. So, CSU Ram 88, that's Peter Jennings. This team looking like it won't advance. Let's see what went wrong. Well, we don't need to look much further than this. It has Joe Burrow and Daniel Jones, so it's getting no QB points. It actually did hit running back enough. Wide receivers seem decent enough too. Tight end, it has Sam Laporta. But yeah, I mean, when you get no quarterback points, your team's dead. This team also is not going to make it. What went wrong? So it went double elite QB, a risky thing to do. James Cook, Charbonnet, AJ Dillon, Jalen Warren, Raheem Mostert. I mean, I got to be one of the few people to build a Mostert team that is in 11th place. That's like honestly impressive. So let's see. I don't know, like running back, I definitely had some tough stretches for, but also some good weeks. Tight end, we're getting near nothing. Higbee, Luke Musgrave, Juwan Johnson. And then wide receiver also has been very weak, where Justin Jefferson's been injured a lot. Metcalf been a little bit disappointing. Mike Williams got hurt early. So yeah, it just seems like injuries derailed this team. What's my top BBM team, Creamy? You can go back and watch my Tuesday night stream where I do a whole show dedicated to Best Ball Mania 4. And you can go watch that and learn all about my Best Ball Mania teams. But we're going to be looking at the high stakes teams today. This is the big board preseason. The Rottweiler was a 350. Looks like I did one of those. Don't think I'm going to advance. Hurts and Geno, Ken Walker, Herbert, Jalen Warren, Jamal Williams, Evan Hull. Just not getting enough running back points, I think. Some wide receiver hits, some misses in the late round. And 2 injured tight ends. And then Geno's been pretty disappointing too. So, yeah, just like not enough. Not enough at running back, I think, is the biggest issue. Not enough at tight end now. Injured dudes seems to be a theme of the teams that are doing bad. The big dog. Advancing, no big dogs right now. We got 2 in third. This is a $250 draft. $100K to first. This one is in third, but it has Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and Aaron Rodgers. So that's kind of impressive to build a 3 QB team when all 3 are out for the year. So yeah, this team's dead. Is what it is. Team looks actually kind of decent if it was getting QB points, but it is not. So this team is my next closest advancing team. It's got Trevor, Geno, Howell. So it's getting QB points. Dalvin Cook and Jamal Williams, awful. Kenneth Gainwell, not so great. Again, somehow I'm building like the only Mostert teams that can advance. Mostert's not a guy I drafted a lot until the late in the season. And then it was like very clear to me, like, oh, this guy's going to be the starter after like the Jeff Wilson injury and whatnot. I mean, like, nailed Mostert and Gus Edwards here, but yeah, just still kind of weak at running back. But it did hit Mostert, did hit Gus Edwards, did hit Ty Chandler, did hit Chuba enough. These 3 dudes suck. I mean, Gainwell's playing at least. Amon-Ra, Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, JSN, Jahan Dotson. So only 6 wideouts, but some of them are good. Amon-Ra consistent. Kirk somewhat consistent. Ridley, Metcalf, Kirk, they've all had their weeks. Evan Ingram and Kincaid. So this is kind of a fun team. I would like this one to make it. It's got a Geno to Metcalf stack. It's got a Trevor to Ridley, Kirk, and Ingram stack. It's got a Howell to Jahan Dotson stack. Yeah, so I mean, this team, it's got to beat Het here. Obviously, it's already getting 74 points this week, so it's a little overinflated. I don't know. We'll just look at one of these teams. Let's see what went wrong with the. If you didn't watch this stream over the summer, this was right after the Dalvin Cook signing, and it was a really fun stream. We had like 50 people come on. Lamar and Mac Jones. Something I said during this stream is at the end, as I said, I feel like something everyone is doing is they feel like they're really smart ending their drafts with Mac Jones and Hunter Henry. And I said, my plan is to do literally anything else. And then a couple of them grumbled, like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because it is something. Like, everyone's like, oh, I'm getting my stack. It's so clean. And yeah, that team just sucks. Rashad White, a hit. Herbert, been hurt a lot. Charbonnet just recently started playing. And not that well. Jalen Warren, a decent hit. Mostert, a slam dunk hit. Like, I'm not advancing an impressive amount of Raheem Mostert. Jefferson, yep, not been playing. JSN, disappointment. Tyler Lockett, kind of a disappointment too. Zay Flowers, not the best half-point PPR guy. Zay Jones, been hurt and now is playing again. Devontae Parker sucks. Darius Slayton, not great. Justin Ross, probably going to jail. Mark Andrews, out for the season now. And Hunter Henry sucks. So, yeah, I don't know. Mixed bag here. Drafting injured dudes plus drafting some awful players will do it. Let's look at one more here. The Pitbull was a 75. I really like this tournament. I would like them to do more in this price range. I think it's a pretty friendly price range for someone who's used to puppies, used to BBM, and it's, they don't have to fork out 10x the buy-in of a BBM, just 3x. And it's a high stakes tournament to me, $75 a team. It is 120K to first, a 7,500 entering contest. So yeah, I like the structure. I was only able to get 7 in before it filled. Currently advancing 2. I think I was advancing 3 before Thanksgiving, but I don't honestly remember. This team is a Jones, Goff, Purdy team. So 2 hits at least at quarterback. 1 is injured. Josh Jacobs, Gibbs, Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Kyrie Williams. Like, pretty strong running back room. Obviously, some guys have been in and out of the lineup. A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra, again, very, very strong start. Gabe Davis, serviceable. OBJ is giving you some weeks now. ESPN Analytics has OBJ as like one of the best players in the NFL. Like top 11 or something. Michael Gallup, not good. MVS, dude, hold on to the ball. Darius Slayton, not good. Paris Campbell, not even playing. George Kittle, a good pick. And Musgrave is injured. Yeah, they got OBJ as 10th best in the NFL. Right ahead of Tyreek Hill, which I'm sure will get some people riled up. Yeah, I mean, I think this team should make it. It's got some good pieces. It's got enough of running back. Kyron is returning now and should get a strong workload. It's got 2 pretty locked and loaded wideouts. Just needs to find a third. And at least it has Kittle. Look at my other advancing team here. This team is a Purdy, Stafford, Stroud team. So nails at quarterback. Absolutely awesome. Tony Pollard. Ken Walker's hurt. Swift, a hit. David Montgomery, a strong hit. Penny, a bust. Zach Charbonnet is playing now. So we got the Walker-Charbonnet combo. Pretty nice. And Pollard, Swift, Montgomery. Strong running backs. Diggs, Debo, Mike Williams out for the new year. Gabe Davis, spike weak enough. Jacoby Myers, seeming like worse for him now that Jimmy G's gone. Tank Dell, the nuts, especially in an 18-round format. Tutu Atwell, stacks with Stafford. Schultz, stacks with Stroud, and Gerald Everett is not playing and not healthy. So, yeah, this shows you quite a bit of my high-stakes teams. We looked at some of my high-stakes DraftKings team, some of my high-stakes underdog teams, I got 2 little eliminators left. Which need to finish top 3 to advance. One of them, it's going to be tough for it to get past week 13 because it's going to eat a bye from Lamar Jackson, but it has Warren, Gainwell, Roshan, Achan, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra. Again, common pairing for me, I guess. Keenan, Kirk. I didn't draft a lot of Keenan, so happy to see him. Judy, Zay Flowers, Darius Slayton, Goddard, Knox, Henry. I drafted all 20 of my little eliminators at the same time, so definitely autoed a pick or two. But largely, I drafted them. Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, definitely auto Jimmy G onto this team, but really nutted quarterback pairing there. Ooh. Ken Walker out. Brian Robinson, strong enough. Jalen Warren, good. Bigsby, awful. Gainwell sees the field a little bit. So pretty weak at running back. Somehow this team's still in with Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, Ayuk, Marquise, Addison, Mingo, Alec Pierce, Devontae Parker, Evan Ingram, and Laporta. So strong at tight end, strong at quarterback, not strong at running back, but some guys playing, and mixed bag at wideout. You got some good pieces, you got some really awful pieces. Let's get to the pick'em portion of the show. Yeah, we, after building a absolute winner past couple weeks, our best pick'em was, I was kind of shocked it didn't hit because Trey McBride had 44 yards, and then the Cardinals had several drives, and Trey McBride ran 100% of routes, but they just did not give him the ball. So I think that's a decent process guy that, the result just didn't land there. I'm trying to pull up these pick'ems for you. Yeah, so the best one was this one, built 2, of course. It was Jameson Williams over. That's been free money the past 3 weeks. Austin Eckler over on rushing yards against a bad Green Bay rush defense. That hit early. Tank Dell, higher receiving yards. That cleared. Jalen Warren, higher rushing yards. That cleared easily. And then, somehow, the chalkiest dude in DFS, who, again, had 2 whole drives once he hit this number to just get 12 yards, 13 did not hit. So 4 out of 5 does not get it done unless you insure, which I usually do not. But let's get back in a little lab here. Let's pull out our game log. I'll take a moment to ask you guys, please hit the like on the video, hit the subscribe if you enjoy this content. I try to, I give out a lot of alpha, I think, some strategy to help you guys and girls. And when the stream ends, or if you're watching this on replay, pause, write something in the YouTube comments. That really helps the algorithm churn there. So yeah, we like to look at the game log just to get a picture of what what happens and who's running the routes there. For example, when Michael Wilson was no longer in the lineup, we saw that resulted in Greg Dortch running 82% of the routes. That's notable because Michael Wilson is again out this week. But let's get into our pick'ems here. Yeah, I heard some the Hollywood. I've heard that Hollywood is a stronger play against man defense than against zone. Hollywood again is playing a zone heavy team in the Rams this week. How we doing? We're doing good, Balls Life. How you doing, bro? Never mind me clicking the wrong button 5 times in a row. Let's get into these games. So we like to go through the whole slate, talk about each one or any thing notable, and then we'll circle back, build 2 pick 5s, get out of here. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, by the way. So Houston versus Jacksonville, a pretty high total game. Expecting shootouts. The coverage scheme that Houston runs seems to favor players like Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram getting targets more so than guys like Calvin Ridley who run more outside routes. Calvin Ridley did have a day against Tennessee. That's probably a lot to do with Tennessee's lack of pass rush and Tennessee's just like awful defense. Houston has a better defense. They're still prone to shootouts, and Ridley did get a little bit more slot work. I think I read that he was up to 20% of routes in the slot last week, which is like, it's better than running all your routes on the outside. But yeah, if I had to pick players from this game, it would definitely be Ingram and Kirk overs. And maybe we'll take a Ridley under, but it's kind of scary because, it's a shootout. Just because their coverage scheme is good at taking away outside shots doesn't mean that Ridley can't get there on a catch. CJ Stroud has been absolutely money. Jacksonville's defense is respectable. Dameon Pierce is expected back, which makes me not want to do anything with Devin Singletary. Really don't know how to, part of me thinks that Devin Singletary is just dusted Dameon Pierce and a see you later guy. Part of me thinks that it's going to go back to a 1A, 1B. I like Tank over and Nico over. Something I like to do is kind of bet against the guys who have bad ESPN analytics numbers and bet for the guys who have good ESPN analytics numbers. It's obviously not everything, but it can kind of help you get a picture here. And ESPN thinks they're at least two of the best wide receivers in the whole NFL. So yeah, I like Nico. I like Tank. Tank got there against Jacksonville last time they played. Will they try to take him away? Can you even take him away? I don't know, but I think he's literally one of the best wide receivers in the whole NFL. Pitt at Cincinnati. The thing I'm tempted most on is Warren rushing yards over. Maybe you can convince me on the combination. Something that Matt Canada, who was fired, was getting slammed for is the inability to execute screen passes. And so, part of me thinks, hey, new OC, what are you going to do? You're going to get the ball to your best players, who's Jaylen Warren. It's not Najee Harris. Other part of me thinks maybe Mike Tomlin's like, you got to give the ball to Najee and we're firing you, Matt Canada, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. Cincinnati, though, is among the league worst defenses in allowing explosive plays to the run game. So I think it's just a really, really good spot for Jaylen Warren. He's an explosive guy. He leads the league in explosive runs. I coined him 85% Austin Eckler very early in the draft cycle this year. And a spot that meets his talent. So we're just going to slot in his over and rushing yards, and then we'll keep it moving. Shorting the Pittsburgh passing game is probably something you can do profitably any week, but I don't know. We're not going to do it now. 66.5 rushing yards is pretty high for a guy of Joe Mixon's abilities, who is not that good, but they're giving him this number because you can run on Pitt, and Pitt has a fierce pass rush, and no one knows what the Jake Browning Bengals are going to look like. Are they going to pepper Jamar Chase with targets? Are they going to be throwing the ball to Tanner Hudson, who doesn't even have a line? Are they just going to let Joe Mixon run the ball 30 times a game? I don't know. You don't know. I kind of want to stay away. I'm a little shocked that Chase has an over-under of 64.5. It's just kind of a high line of an unquestionably talented dude, but, strong pass rush. I know they're going to try to throw chase screens. They're going to try to throw chase screens. The Pittsburgh defense knows they're going to try to throw chase screens. So the question is, will those screens work or will they not? Because if not, I don't know how Jake Browning is as a downfield passer. Something I do think is kind of sharp, though, is backup quarterbacks, and practice and backup wideouts. These are dudes who practice a lot on the second team together. So we did see Trenton Irwin get plenty of targets in that game, and that might have to do with the fact that while Joe Burrow was running the first team on offense with Chase and Higgins and whatever, Jake Browning is more used to throwing to Trent Irwin. So I don't know. I'm a little tempted on the Irwin. It's a lower number, but we'll keep it moving. Tampa at Indy. This has the makings of somewhat of a shootout game. I think it's a good spot for Rachaad White. he's been like kind of brutal on the ground, but he's making up for it in the passing game. So yeah, I don't know if I like his rushing yards or receiving yards better. I don't think that's an awful line on Baker. I kind of like Mike Evans. As long as Tampa doesn't get out to a huge lead, I would expect them to throw the ball, and Mike Evans is just kind of their best player. A 61.5 over under for Mike Evans with their starting quarterback. Jamar Chase has a 67.5 with a backup. That doesn't exactly sound 1-to-1 to me. So kind of like Mike Evans there. We'll come back to it. It's also a good spot for Cade Otton. Indy is just like a tight end funnel, and Cade Otton gets strong enough usage. 94, 90, 88% of the routes. His target per route run and target numbers are not that strong. But 29.5 yards, I think he could do that in a plus matchup. I don't really understand why everyone's on JT. Maybe I missed an injury, but the Bucs are usually not a team you want to run the ball on. They're probably a little bit overrated in their run defense, but they still do have Vita Vea, I believe. On the other hand, I quite like the Josh Downs receiving yards. This is me, I don't know for a fact he's healthier now after the London game, but where he barely played in London. We can show that. Wide receiver, Indianapolis. They're coming off the bye here though, and he was down to 43% of the routes in that game against the Patriots. Really only playing when they needed to. Isaiah McKenzie did play. I think, seeing that he played 43% of the snaps when he was injured, now he has a bye. He should be pretty back. I also kind of just like betting on Matt Gay any given week in a decent, Indy has a very high Vegas total, so they're getting respect from Vegas. Betting on Matt Gay is betting on a team that runs at a very fast pace up game, should get some opportunities. So I don't hate it from him, but we'll throw the Downs over in for now. And let's make a little mini here. Cade Otton at 29.5, Mike Evans at 61.5. I mean, the dude can just get in so much target numbers. The Tennessee game was not even a shootout. Yeah, let's do 61.5. Vegas is not respecting Tampa though. New Orleans at Atlanta. No Michael Thomas for the Saints. He went out early in that game, so we could kind of see what their plan was. It resulted in Rashid Shaheed running a lot of routes, and A.T. Perry was the outside wide receiver of choice, a rookie. Atlanta is a better matchup for the slot where Shaheed should line up than it is for outside wide receivers where a guy like A.T. Perry should line up. So if I'm picking a guy here, it's definitely Shaheed. His number's kind of high at 37.5, but he's an explosive player. We do have to wonder a little bit what the hell's up with Derek Carr's elbow. He was concussed, but he was also hurt his elbow or something. So yeah, if I'm picking a player from the Saints, it's Rashid Shaheed receiving yards. Seems like a decent DFS start, and I just kind of like the spot where he's going to run the slot. He's probably a better player than A.T. Perry. Carr's shown him trust. Atlanta has gotten burned deep. Olave should see their best wideout. So yeah, let's throw a Shaheed over in there for now. Carolina at Tennessee. I don't think I have the heart to take any of this. If I did, I'm a little bit Tempted by Miles Sanders, who was back up to, after he was like bench / injured, I don't really know, 46% of the snaps, 50% of the rush attempts, 32% of the routes, only 4% of the targets. That meant, for a guy who's going to have really low lines, which he does, and I don't know when that workload came, if it came in pure garbage time or not, but him at 26.5 rushing yards versus like Chuba at 45.5, definitely giving Miles Sanders there. But yeah, we're probably not brave enough to take any of these guys. Can't do anything on Tennessee. A lot of people are going to play Derrick Henry in DFS. I'll probably tell them go with God because I don't really want to do it. It's just this is not a team we want to bet on. New England at the Giants. I mean, maybe we'll take some sack numbers here. The Ramondre stuff, probably not the worst. Tommy DeVito passing yards, no, thank you. I think that's like far more an indictment of the Commanders than it is anything to do with him. Saquon looked awesome against the Commanders, but again, the Giants have been brutal. Yeah, we're not getting any like defensive players here. Cleveland at Denver. Jerome Ford is in the mix. I don't think I'm going to take anyone from Denver. Samaje Perine is like third in the NFL for running backs in receiving yards. So him only having a 19.5 receiving line, he's gone over that in a couple games. The only concern is if Denver, if Cleveland just like falls apart here, do we worry about Amari Cooper going forward? Bro, you need to worry about the whole Browns offense. Yes. Amari Cooper's been a bust too at draft cost. I barely drafted him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not taking anyone from these ugly games. Maybe some unders. Rams at Arizona. If they're laying some low lines on Kyron, I'm expecting him to be at 80% of the snaps. The coach speak from McVay seems to be leaning that way. After they did this like insane shit, which was like 100% of snaps, plus they were giving him special teams. Why were they giving him special teams? I do not know. But after that, they started doing more logical workloads. I would guess it's going to be somewhere around there. 70 to 80% of the snaps, 70 to 90% of the rush attempts. And against an Arizona defense that just got beat up by Devin Singletary, that is a very low line for a team that needs to win this game, right? Kyron and the Rams need to win this game if they have any playoff hopes, especially with the Packers winning. So I quite like Kyron rushing yards. Cup is going to play, so that dampers Puka a little bit. It majorly dampers Tutu Atwell. Royce Freeman's probably not the worst dart in the world. So yeah, I like this pick'em slip. Maybe we'll do more than 2, seeing as we're not through these games. This is our first one. I'll share this in the chat if you want to tail. Of course, bet whatever unit you feel is responsible for your bankroll. Do not shout at me if we do not win, but I feel good about it. It's Jaylen Warren over on rushing yards, Josh Downs over on receiving yards, Mike Evans over on receiving yards, Rashid Shaheed over on receiving yards, and Kyron Williams over on rushing yards. My cousin asked me if I ever pick any unders, and yes, I do pick unders, but sometimes it's easier to get a feel for players who are just like underrated. So that's probably why I pick a lot of overs. Of course, I don't claim to be 100% on my picks or anything. Kyler and the Cardinals. Let's see if they gave us a Greg Dortch line. They did not. Trey McBride's line is pretty high, but it's a decent spot. Would expect him again to be around this number. And Marquise seems like a decent lower because, yeah, he can do this on like one catch. And the thing about Kyler is he's looked a little rusty, but he could just be back any given week. And then, but, Marquise, again, it's better against man defense. The Rams don't run a lot of man defense. So I don't know. I'm tempted on that lower. And I kind of like Matt Prater to make more than 2 field goals. But let's move on. Buffalo at Philly. The Bills got their backs against the wall. They pretty much need to win. They don't need to win every game. They can probably still lose 2 games and make it. But realistically, losing 2 games makes it really tough. Losing one game's fine. And if they're going to lose a game, it has to be to Dallas or Philly, probably, aka an NFC opponent. I don't know if losing to an AFC opponent is stomachable. So this is not a must-win game, but would be so sweet for the Bills to win this game. You get into the bye, you get to lick your wounds, you get to heal up, you get the OC to give a week to get his shit together. Would be nice. But yeah, the Bills need to win this. This is a good spot for their passing game. Steph Diggs, they're probably going to give us a low number just because he's been disappointing as of late, but Philly's not been great against wide receivers. Kansas City not getting it done against Philly is a lot more an indictment on their wide receivers than it is, like a boost to Philly's defense. Now, Philly's defense is better since they traded for the safety from Tennessee. I also have a sneaking suspicion that Gabe could get some targets this game. Now, he has been a risky bet as of late. I quite like Kincaid this week. It's a good matchup. All this usage for Kincaid came in the first half when the game was not out of hand, and then they kind of stopped using him. I also like Shakir, who, if we go to the wideouts for the Bills, I'm expecting to be out there a lot, He's been between 75 and 74% of the snaps. He's not getting great target per route run numbers or raw target numbers, but his ADOT is pretty deep. He scored on a long bomb last year, which was basically Dalton Kincaid blocking his ass off. But yeah, so we might just stack up this game. AJ Brown was a little banged up in practice, so was Swift. It's a little bit better game for Swift, but the Bills' defense has not really been tested against a quality offense since Cincinnati, so it's a good test for them. Part of me thinks AJ Brown could just go absolutely nuclear against their defense. They did trade for Rasul Douglas, which is like a pretty big upgrade for them. And yeah, I mean, I think we might just like make a slip with a game stack of this because it's fun. And if you have a sports book, you can of course do a same game parlay. Before we build it, let's take a look at Kansas City, Las Vegas. Probably the best line has something to do with Isaiah Pacheco. Although you got to fear that's a little overinflated here. The wideouts all suck. Justin Watson is just kind of like their top wideout. So if they're going to hang a line of 26.5 for a dude who's the wide receiver 1 for Kansas City, that's pretty tempting. He was at 66% of the routes, 33% target per route run, 30% of the targets. He wasn't that good. But he was at 71% of the routes the week before. Kadarius Toney probably looked good, but still can't play that much. Richie James might play eventually. McCole Hardman already ruled out. Someone else got ruled out too. I can't remember though. We'll see what they do with MVS after losing them the game. But yeah, I mean, let's throw a Watson receiving yard in there. I'm tempted on Michael Mayer for a team that has good corners and are going to play press. And, 22.5 yards is not that much. Let's see what his routes were like. Against the Dolphins, a better matchup for tight ends. 72% of the routes, so he's been trending up. 16% target per route run, 13% of targets. So nothing fancy there, but he has a very low line of 22.5 yards in a game that, if the Raiders can, they're just going to run Josh Jacobs a lot, but, they kind of have to probably get someone else involved. So I'm tempted on Mayer. We'll see what's left here on the Bills guys, though. Let's throw in Kincaid, and Kincaid we trust. Let's throw in Diggs. Let's throw in. So Josh Allen did get designed rushing attempts against the Jets. Philly's D-line is tough, but let's see. Mahomes was low on passing yards, but I don't know how much credit I'm giving to Philly there. Let's just do Josh over passing yards, a little stacking there. Josh Allen, Diggs, Kincaid, Justin Watson, and let's bring it back with a Philly guy. I think I wish they hung up fantasy points for Swift. But yeah, we'll do rushing yards. I mean, Swift is an explosive runner. The Bills D is like a boom bust rushing defense, meaning they actually are decent at stopping running backs, but they whiff on tackles sometimes. And when that happens is like when you see Breece Hall week 1 on those breakaway runs. So yeah, I like this slip. Probably like the other slip better, but it's Justin Watson over on 26.5 receiving yards, just kind of copying and pasting his routes the past couple of weeks, his targets. Kincaid receiving yards, Diggs receiving yards, pretty low line for him. Josh Allen passing yards, a little correlation there. And then Swift rushing yards, just hoping that game, it can still go under the Vegas total, but a little bit of a shootout affair there and what should be an exciting game. Paste that in the chat if you want to tail. Of course, tail at your own wishes. I talked about a lot of other players if you want to build your own slips. That will do it for me today, guys. It's Black Friday here. I want to go relax like the rest of you. Hope you enjoyed this video where I reviewed my high stakes best ball teams and then we built some pick'em slips. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hope we have a great Sunday of football. I will see you by the latest on Tuesday. Peace out, everybody. Goodbye.